Добрый день.
Да, зато я.
Добрый день.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues and guests. Let me start the session of the Dissertation Committee dedicated to the defense of the dissertation by Zhavoronkova Anna Nikolaevna seeking an academic degree of candidate philological sciences in the field of journalism on the topic authorship category in Serbian journalism. Let me declare the session open. According to the Act of St. Petersburg University dated 28th July 2020, I, Alla Nikolaevna Teplashina, Doctor of Philological Sciences, Associate Professor and Professor of the Department of Media Communications of St. Petersburg University, was appointed Chairman of this Dissertation Committee, and I would like to introduce other members of the Dissertation Committee: Sergei Nikolaevich Ilchenko, Doctor of Philology, candidate of Arts Studies, Professor of the Department of Television and Radio, St. Petersburg University; Boris Yakovlevich Misoshnikov, Doctor of Philological Sciences, Professor of the Department of Digital Media Communication, St. Petersburg University. Online with us are Tatiana Leonidovna Kaminska, Doctor of Philological Sciences, head of the Department of Journalism of Novgorod State University, named after Yaroslav the Wise. Can you hear us and see us? Yes, everything is fine. And Zoya Leonidovna Novozhonova, Doctor of Philological Sciences, Professor of the Department of Russian and Translation Studies of Gdańsk University, Poland. Can you hear us and see us? But we cannot hear you. I understand. Well, yes, the candidate is with us, Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova, also the academic advisor of the candidate Natalia Sergeyevna Tsvetova, Doctor of Philological Science, Professor of the Department of Media Linguistics, St. Petersburg University, is also with us. Okay, Zoilina, can you hear us? Yeah, now we can hear you. I would like to repeat. I could hear you, everything. To improve the quality of communication, please, dear colleagues who are online with us, switch off your microphones, but don't forget to switch them on when you're given the floor. Also, I'd like to inform you that audio and video recording is ongoing, accompanied with a simultaneous interpretation between Russian and English, and is broadcast on the website of St. Petersburg University. The site of the dissertation council session has an electronic mail address where you can send your questions, but your questions have to do with the dissertation or the academic discussion that is taking place. The technical services will then forward them, all the questions, forward them to me. But I will read only those questions which are signed by the names of the full names of the persons that asked these questions, affiliation, and they must relate directly to the academic discussion and the dissertation. In accordance with the regulations concerning the awarding of candidate and Doctor of Sciences degrees in St. Petersburg University, the session of a dissertation committee is deemed legitimate if not less than 2/3 of the established membership, but not fewer than 4 people are present. Our dissertation committee consists of 5 people, and all 5 people are present, including those are in online mode with us. Well, I would like to go over the agenda for today's meeting. The session will not exceed 2 hours. The first item on the agenda is a short presentation of the chairman about the paperwork that has been submitted by the candidate and whether this paperwork conforms with the requirements. 5 minutes. Short presentation of 15 minutes by the candidate on the topic on the dissertation. Questions to the defendant, to the candidate that relate to the presentation, not more than 2 minutes per question. Answers by the candidate, not more than 5 minutes per all questions. And the presentation of all the members, by all the members of the dissertation committee, of their reviews, 10 minutes per speaker. Then the chairman will present her review, not more than 10 minutes. Answers of the candidate, not more than 20 minutes to all the questions of the dissertation committee members. Open floor discussion, but you have to register to enter your name into the registration list, so that you would be able to speak up, and not more than 2 minutes per speech. Also, I would like to present, then I will present questions that have been received online, and also will give the floor to the candidate to answer these questions. Then the academic advisor of the candidate will present her views for not more than 3 minutes. Then a discussion by the dissertation committee members before an open voting procedure, not more than 5 minutes. Open voting and the counting of votes, and then a decision is taken to award or not to award the sought academic degree, and the concluding statement by the candidate, more than 2 minutes, not more than 2 minutes. Dear colleagues, do you have any objections to the agenda? No objections. Then I would like to then start with the first item. First of all, please check whether your mobile phones are silent or switched off. And then I'm starting the agenda. The dissertation of Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova, seeking an academic degree of candidate of philological sciences in the academic field 100110, journalism, on the topic the category of authorship and Serbian journalism, was accepted for defense by the Act of the Academic Sector of St. Petersburg University, dated on the 28th of July 2020. Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova wrote her dissertation in St. Petersburg University under the the advisory help of the supervision of the Doctor of Philological Sciences, Professor of the Department of Media Linguistics, St. Petersburg University, Natalia Sergeyevna Svetova. The number of publications is 3 in journals that was established by in the list of the Ministry of Education and Science of the Russian Federation. Web of Science or Scopus publications are not present and in the file, so there were no publications of this kind. The candidate presented the whole package of the documents in due time, and they all comply with the requirements. The file is at the disposal of the Office of Dissertation Committee work, and a member of this office is here, and they can supply the documents. Do we need to go over the whole list? I understand that no questions, so we don't need to go over the whole list. And therefore, I would like to give the floor to Anna Nikolaevna for their presentation. Dear members of the Dissertation Committee, dear colleagues, I am very happy to greet you all here. I would like to start my presentation. The dissertation research is devoted to the specifics of the speech representation of the category of authorship in modern Serbian journalism, while under the category of authorship we mean the system of means of speech representation of key ideas and views of a group of Serbian publicists, opinion journalists, specifically embodied in the author's individual styles. The relevance of the issue is associated with the sharpening of the constant research interest in the journalism discourse of modern Serbia, which is still experiencing the consequences of the crisis in connection with the collapse of Yugoslavia in the 1990s. After all, it is the publicistic word as a catalyst for intensive economic, political, and cultural transformation of society that is indisputable evidence of the era and serves as the key to understanding the main features of the national mentality. The aim of the undertaken research is to identify the peculiarities of the speech representation of the category of authorship in modern Serbian journalism as a means of self-affirmation of a polemicist and national dialogue. To this end, the work outlines the boundaries of the concept of journalism, taking into account the point of view of Serbian and Russian linguists. In addition, the work created a model of the ideal style of the author polemicist through the description of the basic levels of manifestation of the category of authorship for the Serbian publicistic discourse, represented by conceptual dominant linguistic and cultural concepts that are key for the political segment of media discourse, and also the discourse of modern Serbian journalism. On the one hand, is to assert that this discourse is determined by features typical of modern media discourse, and on the other hand, has ethno-national specificity. The category of authorship that interests us expressed in journalism is a set of ideas corresponding to key episodes of modern agenda and revealing itself in the modern peculiarities of both leader styles, has a conceptual embodiment in Serbian columnists. Among the concepts that are the key for the authors, we have identified a series of linguo-cultural concepts: Serbian and power, the concept in which in Serbian media discourse continues modernize and enrich under the influence of modern globalization and eternal political processes. the methods of is this. We focus on the empirical material possible to identify the most frequent segmentic features of the concept, the duration of the experience, and the breadth of distribution. So the key concepts are Serbian power, but also the emotional concept of fear. The analysis of the fear concept can allow us to see the emotional experience, and the specific of language objectivization. The analysis is that the fear is based on the social dependence. Also, there's and you have irony there, and also Svetoslava Baslava mocks cultural cliches, and also there's fear for the authorities, the fear for responsibility, and also we have the nature of the concept of power occurs not only through the denomination of specific public figures, but is outlined by a circle of historical figures or realities. Among the satirical form also is present there. So fear is presented as a means of impact and production of fear. We have such concepts as the country and different cultural figures or political figures. There's you can see that the emotional state is actualized in this crisis world view. The concept of Serbia. The concept of Serbia actualizes a negative concepts, and there's a number of concepts as anarchy, chaos, and the analysis of conceptual signs or properties of the concept Serbia consists of the following components: social tension, the past of the country, Kosovo issue, democracy, and the ideological division. And I think the last one is the most important element of the concept. There's collapse, division, breakup. There's the first Serbia and the second Serbia. The first one is associated with the right-wing forces, and the second one in the left-wing forces. The semantic field of the past is associated with different political figures from the recent past that you can see here on the slide. The concept of Serbia has a multidimensional nature that has not only semantic properties, but semantic profiles as well. For example, Serbia and the Eastern world, Serbia and the Western world, and Serbia and Kosovo. The concept of Serbia is associated with stress, with constant stress that Serbian residents or Serbian citizens are living under, and this chronic pressure. The polemicists talk about the impossibility of the unity of the nation, and Serbia is then presented as a hub of contradictions. The forms of the verb to own, and the president of Alexander Vucic is also associated with the concept of authorities. The media text has a lot of evaluation and also satirical features. The political duplicity and other human vices are part of the description of the Minister of International Affairs, Ivica Dacic, or the Minister of Defense, Alexander Vulin. Then proper nouns then become common nouns. So Serbia will not survive Vulin's and Vucic's. The objectivation of the concept of power is then reflected in historical figures, and this is also reflected in the intertextuality of the discourse. There are some figures that are associated with the Muslim world. For example, when these figures are mentioned, then the lexes that have to do with Oriental cultures are used. So the Turkish borrowings, the authorities, then the Serbian politics, there's no place of sports cavalry or chivalry and the respect for their opponent, and instead ignorance and impunity reign. Also, this slide shows civic unrest, civic protest by young people in Belgrade and the spring of 2019. The political discourse is characterized by common discourse markers and properties, but also is peculiar to the publicistic individual styles. And that is reflected in the intertextuality, in references to the cultural context and political context, and also to historical realities. I would like to stop here. Thank you very much. And then afterward, you can see there's a bridge over the Drina River. This is the Republic of Serbia. There's a small point on this bridge. This is me. Thank you very much. I am very happy to answer your questions. please, any questions to the candidate on the they should relate directly to the presentation or the content of the dissertation. Do you have any questions? May I ask a question? Tatiana Leonidovna, please. The category of authorship is a combination of ideas. To clarify, so as the category of author, the authors. Thank you very much for your question. We look at different notions, the image of the author and the style of the author, the category of authorship and the category of an author. We focus on the category of authorship that looks at current trends and the media text today. This is part of a larger semantic term, the category of authors, and that of authorship. That's what you asked about the category of the author. Do we have any other questions? Okay, then I would like to give the floor to the reviewers and the answers of the candidate, and if we have any external reviews, then I will read those. I suggest that the candidate answers each review in turn. There have been no external reviews, so please, the floor is given to Sergei Nikolaevich Ilchenko. Dear colleagues, we have a very important date, and this defense touches a very relevant topic, because the problem of the author is the problem of all journalism, not only Serbian journalism. This is a very relevant topic, therefore. What is interesting for Serbia is interesting for all of us. Serbia, culturally and genetically, is a very close country to Russia. A lot of events of Russian history started in Serbia, starting with 1914, and at the turn of the centuries, millennia, Serbia was in the focus of political discourse. The triumphal march of Russian paratroopers on Pristina is one event that is related to this. So this must be remembered to understand who writes blogs in Serbia and journalists who write their columns. And we have to feel these nuances in order to understand the authorship of Serbian journalism. In Serbian journalism, the structure of the dissertation is correct. There's consistent unfolding of the content. First, we take Slavic journalism research, and then Russian journalism and Western. Well, the category is viewed from different angles, and and especially from the point of view of language personality. Well, the empirical material is Serbian here, but what Anna Nikolaevna did and the conclusions that she reached can be used by us, and because they have a relationship to our journalism, our political scene, and we could replace some names with Russian names, and the conclusions will fit very well. Well, the empirical base is very powerful, including the Serbian sources in Serbian. The analysis and the conclusions are valid and acceptable. The quality press materials serve as the basis of research. And this is very good, but there are some nuances. Anna Nikolaevna understands that there's some nuances. The authors are chosen also well. The Belgrade columnists, but you could reach out to the regions as well. But nevertheless, the choice of columnists, their key columnists, of course, you also focused on the key where the events, the assassination of Ivo Ivanovich, the winning of Alexander Vucic, and the elections, the protests of youth in Belgrade in 2019. I'm going over these events, and I have a déjà vu that I'm reading the events of our recent history as well, Russian history. You analyzed the coverage of these events by different columnists and identify the specific language differences between the styles of these authors. The crisis worldview is manifested in the emotionality of the text. The three concepts are intertwined both in the analysis of Anna Nikolaevna, but also in the political discourse. Fear, power or authority, and Serbia. They are intertwined, and this is interesting how the different authors interpret this triangle. The relevance of the work is obvious for me. It's very important to note that the international components of this research is based on the Serbian researchers. When we talk about the Slavic world, this work can go a long way to discussing this concept. The conclusions can be used in training journalists in speech communication, and can be used both in lecture courses and practical classes, including internships. So to show students how a journalist can act in very politically charged contests, and to see how different ways of behavior can characterize each journalist. As any dissertation, some ideas come to mind in terms of what can be improved, and for me, the station is called the category of authorship in Serbian journalism, and I would like to hear the comparison of the concepts of Serbia and Yugoslavia, or former Yugoslavia. Maybe the Serbian journalists shy away from the concept of former Yugoslavia. Maybe this frustration is evident in the whole of post-Yugoslavian space. Journalism could contribute to the change of the perspective from crisis mentality to post-crisis mentality. Well, could journalism open up some avenues of this escape? Political discourses show bias, and they criticize the current authorities. Is it maybe a sign of the authors making a political capital out of their criticism? The opposition of capital. So was the comparison of the stylistic properties of the texts that were published online and in printed copies of newspapers by the same authors, same journalists. Well, there's a temptation for any author is the overloading of the theoretical first chapter with terms. You want to put a label on each phenomenon. Well, there are two terms on page 22 of your research: pathetization and periodization. I have no idea what they mean and why they're used here, and what the origins of them are. I would like to see the difference between the language personality and the discursive personality. Well, there's always this juxtaposition in your text, but I cannot understand what the difference is. Well, the Serbian language is, Serbian quotes in Serbian are good, but not all members of the station committee speak the language, so it could be of a help to have a translation of some of the of some of the references or the quotations, because some value of the analysis is lost if you don't understand what exactly the text means. Therefore, nevertheless, my critical remarks do not diminish the value of the research, and I endorse the decision to award Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova with the third degree of candidate of philological sciences and journalism. Thank you. Thank you very much, Anna Nikolaevna. You don't have more than 5 minutes, 4 minutes, better. Please answer the questions. And dear Sergei Nikolaevich, thank you very much. It gives me a perspective to work on in the future. As far as the translation of fragments, unfortunately, I translated not all the passages, but I tried to do my best. But some fragments have escaped my attention. As far as the concepts of Serbia and Yugoslavia, yes, you can start with the entry of Serbia as an association. Yugoslavia will be at the periphery. But, of course, it's mentioned in the text of columnists, but it is done in a very narrow context compared to the Serbia, the concept of Serbia, which is a very wide concept and belongs to a very wide context. And because Yugoslavia is mentioned in a very narrow historical context. Serbian history is wider than Yugoslavian history because it's longer. Yugoslavian history is between 1918 to the end of the century. Although the concept of Yugoslavia is permeated with emotional fondness and warmth, it's a very good juxtaposition, and I would like to focus more on the concept of Yugoslavia in my future work. As far as the political bias, I remember the Serbian phraseology means that you pour water on the windmill of Vučić, and the columnists are in the opposition camp. Although I try to take pro-government media outlets like Politica newspaper. Well, it's very interesting to see if you see something in Cyrillic, then it's a pro-government newspaper. But if you have Latin characters, this is usually an opposition media outlet or print media outlet. So from Politica, I took the section of columns. It's a black and white supplement that is not financed by the Politica newspaper. Therefore, the views of the columnists may not coincide with the views of the editorial board of the newspaper. but in terms as far as the most columnists, they are still can be deemed as oppositional. As far as some terms, periodization, pejorativization, and pejorativization is mentioned in terms of the emotionally charged language, evaluative language, and in journalism discourse. So pejorative lexis, some very bad words can be found in columns. The speech aggression, the progressiveness is evident there. It's different from Russian media. And then the second term is the abuse of such terms as problems, issues, and some very gloomy concepts or very negative concepts, and they become cliches. They become desemanticized, or the connotation is lost. And that the words of problems and crisis and all these words create a picture of insolvability of the situation and sort of pessimistic doom and gloom. And as far as the discursive versus linguistic personality or language personality, I don't want to drop the language personality concept, but I still prefer to use discursive personality, the concept of discursive personality. Karolov said that language personality is reflected in the language through the resources of this language. He presented the structure of this language personality, but this discursive personality, we look at the pragmatics first, and we look at the person not only as someone who uses the resources of language, but as a communication person. So communication is the focus. Discursive personality is tied to the context, and by some specialization, for example, professional specialization. Thank you very much, Anna Nikolaevna. Sergei Nikolaevich, satisfied with the answers? Yes. I would like to remind the members of the Dissertation Council that all the reviews have been published on the website, and therefore I would urge you to focus on the key issues, for example, critical remarks. And Anna Nikolaevna should remember that not more than 5 minutes are allocated for response. Novozhanova Zoya Leonidovna, your turn. Dear colleagues, I am very happy to see you all, greet you all from Gdansk here. It's very misty. I would be very happy to be in St. Petersburg at the moment, but alas, I would like to go over my my review very quickly to save time.
мероприятия. Итак, исследование.
So the research piece of Zhavoronkova Anna Nikolaevna is at the interface of journalism and political discourse, as it tackles the categories of subjectivity, anthropocentricity, the attention to the authorship and the relationship between the author and their audience are the topics of research, both for linguists and journalists. As we heard today already, Anna Nikolaevna describes the political discourse of Serbia today, and as a diagnostic instrument of social and political and cultural situation in Serbia. Tackling the social problems, the author contributes to the advances of science. The object of study is understudied, and therefore it's relevant. The means of speech representation are analyzed, which contributes to the relevance of and the originality of the research. At this stage of theoretical thought, the tools used by the author are relevant, and the analytical algorithm created by the author is consistent. It's based on cognitive and linguistic and discursive approaches, and the semantic and stylistic analysis are intertwined. It must be noted that the search for the conceptual dominance or highlights has been very successful, and the comparison of Russian and Serbian political contexts and journalism are of value too, and the author of the dissertation presents the category of authorship as a combination of ideas and the representation modes. Anna Nikolaevna has cultural erudition, and it's clear that she understands the Serbian political and publicistic discourses, and she knows the political context and the political design of the country, the history of the country. And she focuses on the frustration of Serbian psyche over different concepts, or that manifest in different concepts: fear, power, and Serbia. The ambivalence of the category of authorship is evident in the publicistic writings of the Politica columnist. And you can see that the text of the columns has a dialogic character. The authors that are under study are polemicists, and their styles reflect their stance. Serbia, all these concepts that are tackled in the work are emotionally charged, and because they reflect the frustration of the Serbian society over their history and including the use of archaic language that has to do with the Turkish borrowings, etc. Metaphors are used, and the author makes a very interesting conclusion that the texts under study are full of intertextuality. The results of the research have a theoretical and practical significance. They contribute to the development of the study of the intentionality of the media discourse, and I would like to say that a very interesting focus is on the recipient of the text. The crisis worldview is also a key concept that is tackled in the research. I would like to say a few comments of a critical nature, some critical remarks. They're just some suggestions rather than harsh criticisms. I would like to say that you should have added some reasons why the category of authorship is used. Why not the category of the author or other similar categories have become the object of study? So, well, why this collective term? The next question is the status of the category. Is it cognitive, textual, or intertextual, or how universal is the category? Well, maybe you should have put them in the paradigm of universal and particular, individual or mass concepts, etc. Well, the category of authorship it has a number of characteristics: dialogiticity, polemicity, etc. But it also is reflected in the dichotomy of the author versus the reader. Maybe you should have focused more on the relationship of the impact and the relationship between the author and the reader. What relationship do they have of partnership or pressure, or some rhetorical aspects are identified. There's a lack of attention to the concept of the source. Well, this is a competing term because it's used in stylistics, and there are lots of studies that are associated with the term of source or addressant. The author, the term author is over literary nature rather than rigorous academic terminology. The concept of idiostyle is usually not interpreted in this way, the way that that is interpreted by the candidate. Nevertheless, my critical remarks do not diminish the value of the dissertation. The dissertation is an original study on a relevant topic, and I would like to conclude that that the dissertation of Zhavoronkova Anna Nikolaevna meets the requirements of St. Petersburg University and deserves the awarding of the academic degree of candidate of philological sciences in journalism. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much, Sonia Leonidovna. Yes. Zoe Leonidov, thank you very much. Thank you for your comments. And I can see an avenue for further research in your remarks. As far as the authorship, the category of authorship, I will begin by answering your questions. Introduction of to the work and the first section of the second chapter, we gave our own definition of this concept. Once again, I emphasize that the category of authorship is defined by us as a system of means of speech representation of ideas and views of a group of publicists, which is specifically embodied in the author's individual styles. The initial stage then we followed Kimmick's terminology, and we used this in the work. As far as the status of the category under discussion, I will clarify that traditionally the category of authorship, along with the category of the author and the author's principle, is usually understood as a textual one. That is, it is embodied in a text, artistic or journalistic. However, in the work, we make this status more concrete, considering the category of interest from the point of view of communicative and semantic cognitive approaches. The communicative approach to the analysis of the speech representation of the category of authorship, that is from the point of view of the specifics of the interaction between the author and the reader, allows us to speak of the described category as dialogical, and semantic cognitive reconstruction of the publicist's ideal style based on certain conceptual dominance as cognitive. As far as the peripheral concepts, in the research, we noted some other concepts that are not part of the final paper, thesis. We cannot count all the concepts. We talk about media text, the language. There's no boundary on the number of concepts. There's no limit. Well, I wanted to analyze so much, and this is, and I had to limit myself. But I still plan to continue my research and do more. Well, I wanted to study, for example, the concept of freedom. So fear, power, and Serbia, and freedom. And I would like to take up freedom after that. Well, independence and unity. So freedom, independence, and unity are the three concepts that I would like to tackle in my future research. I would like to thank Leonidovna for the comment about the reader. We looked at the relationship between the reader and the author, whether it's confrontation or partnership or something else. Usually this is the inciting of some intellectual activity. Well, this confrontation. Well, as far as the Svetislav Basara, this is reflected in his works. He's my favorite publicist. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And so, are you happy with your remarks? Yes. Answers? Yes. Yes. Let me say yes. Tatiana Leonidovna, your floor. I'm very happy to see you. Well, I'm not wearing a mask. Well, that's my advantage. But I would have loved to be in real communication with you. Serbia has experienced a lot of tragic events over the past decades. And we empathize with Serbia. This is the bread not only of political sciences but of media studies people. Well, the Serbian journalism that it has been studied in this vein has not been studied by many, only about 20 publications of this kind. I'm not going to read my whole review that relate to the content of the dissertation. I would like to stress that the choice of columnists is very apt. Unfortunately, the critical remark follows is that in terms of social roles, you don't define the differences between these authors. I see that from what I read in your thesis, that all the columnists use the same cliches, the same metaphors, the same political figures are targeted. So what is the difference between different columnists in terms of their styles and their content? Well, so what's the share of the author? What is as a researcher, you can see where the author is, but will the reader see that? The category of authorship is unclear in whether this category of authorship is peculiar to the Serbian journalism discourse, or is it a general category that is not unique to journalism of Serbia, and this very little specificity in this regard in Serbian journalism. So, but all these remarks that are critical that I have just mentioned do not diminish in any way the value of the dissertation, and I just want to mention that the author has presented her research results at different conferences, and therefore, in light of this and in light of my positive impression of the whole work, I endorse the decision to award Anna Nikolaevna the academic degree of candidate of philological sciences in journalism. Thank you very much, Tatiana Leonidovna, for your remarks. Greetings from St. Petersburg to Novgorod, my favorite city. In terms of the category of authorship, as far as the social roles, and I would like to say that this was not part of my my research to reconstruct the image of every author. I just looked at the discursive personality. So as far as the the analysis of each author, we looked at the authors individually, but then we had to generalize, and because I looked at the corpus of the text, and I looked at this as a collective entity, and therefore I didn't single out the markers of each individual columnist. As far as the concepts, any publicistic discourse is built on this text dominance, country plus power. These concepts are typical for this type of discourse. which is why we chose them. The analysis of their linguistic objectification in turn made it possible to identify features that are specific to the Serbian media discourse associated with the author's understanding of the historical past of their own country and the perception of themselves as part of this history. This understanding occurs in particular due to the involvement of specific intertext text teams by the authors. The proposition that asserts the axiological foundations of intertextuality does not claim to be unique, but the tendencies of their inclusion in the text are unique and significant. One of these tendencies is associated with the degree of immersion of the Serbs into their past, constant reflection of the events of 10, 20, 100, or 600 years ago, their purposeful and large-scale actualization. Thank you very much. That's my answer. Tatiana Leonidovna, are you satisfied with the answers? Yes, thank you very much. Then now I would like to give the floor to Boris, Professor Misoshnikov. The thesis touches upon very relevant issues. For the first time in Russian journalism, there's such a serious study of Serbian journalism. This is not only of methodological importance, but it presents raises public awareness of Serbian media, and the author studied the speech representation of authorship of different of leading Serbian columnists. Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova studied a wide range of resources and also a wealth of research literature. And this research, the study that she has completed is original. The empirical base is also original. Well, she identified the process. She explained the process of how a columnist or a journalist positions themselves in the political discourse of the country. The research also focuses on the phenomenology of the discourse. The positive impression is my positive impression is based on the when I read about the intertextuality of the discourse. Well, but what is lacking is the sources under the authorship of Igor Smirnov and Arnold, who are the luminaries in the field. And Smirnov published a book in 1995. Is the production of text, on the production of text. Maybe you should have focused on some maybe you should have used the resources of poetics and hermeneutics. It's an big international project on the intertext Well, I just think that the scope should have been enlarged because you were limiting yourself to something very standard. And you use the concepts of personality, phenomenology, and communicative discursiveness. You created an effective methodological complex that provides the instruments to describe the writings of the columnists as in a comprehensive way. 900 concepts of the concept of Serbia have been analyzed. This is huge work. The thesis uses a lot of valuable empirical and theoretical material. The conclusions are valid. The originality is obvious. The author turns to linguistic and cultural studies perspectives and paradigms of analysis when analyzing the Serbian political journal media discourse, and the author of the dissertation puts under the lens the interaction between the author and the reader. The dissertation, of course, has some drawbacks. For example, when you look at the idiom style as the author's individual style, Zhavoronkova refers to the works of Karolov and Vinogradov, but leaves out the works of Yuri Tynyanov, who is considered to be the founder of the studies of idiom style, and he is known for the study of poetics, and his research is still relevant today. The emotiveness of the message is under the focus, and this is a very good focus because when you study media discourse, this shouldn't be avoided. I would also therefore still mention Professor Shachovsky, who studied the emotionality of text and speech. Shachovsky is referred to in the thesis, but for a different reason. Nevertheless, the review of the literature is quite profound, but unfortunately some of the sources are a bit dated, but nevertheless conceptually the research has been published, but unfortunately the unfortunately do not are not too numerous, and maybe you should have published an article in Turkish in Turkish collection of articles, but these are suggestions that are not that are minor. The dissertation of Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova is of merit, and the candidate deserves the right to be awarded the Candidate of Sciences degree in philology and the degree field of journalism. Thank you very much, Boris Yakovlevich. Dear Boris Yakovlevich, thank you very much for the sources that you mentioned. The topic of intertextuality is very important. I will get into study poetics and hermeneutics project. As far as the Tinyanov works, they're not part of the review because the idiom style is more of a peripheral nature, and this concept is viewed through communicative stylistic prism, and therefore I use Bolotnova's writings and Tomsk researches, and I focus precisely on this aspect, but in the future I plan to continue studying the means of expressing idiostyle in the media, including relying on classical works on authors' poetics. As far as the Shakovsky contributions, thank you very much for this comment. I will use it. Also, I'd like to agree with the necessity to accept using Tertishny ideas. I've always used his works, and as a journalist in my work as a practicing journalism, and now in my teaching career, I also use his works, but I had to limit my literature or the approaches to purely linguistic approaches, and therefore I should have put maybe this literature in the introduction, because I used it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anna Nikolaevna. Boris Yakovlevich, do you agree with what do you? Yes. Since all criticisms have been voiced, I will just say what is missing in the thesis. Well, all the disadvantages can be converted to advantages, and therefore, please use my comments. First of all, maybe you should have given your own definition of authorship, the category of authorship, instead of just using the the definitions of others. Maybe you should have been more bold in using hypertext, the concept of hypertext. And also to clearly use such terms as such as provocative terms, but nevertheless, the dissertation of Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova can be evaluated as positive and as having a relevant nature and contributing to the field. The dissertation of Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova complies with the main criteria of St. Petersburg University guidelines on awarding academic degrees of the State University at the State University, and therefore Zhavoronkova Anna Nikolaevna deserves the sought degree of candidate of philological sciences in journalism. Thank you very much, Anna Nikolaevna. Of course, regarding the use of the terms, I would like to say that I will contemplate on this, on the boldness of providing my own definitions. In some chapters I do provide my own definitions, but maybe I should be more brave in that. As far as the terms, lingua discursology, the concept of lingua discursology in accordance with the concepts of St. Petersburg School of Media Studies, it is understood as an independent phenomenon. It represents a certain commonality of all news media texts placed in the hypertext environment. This is described in the articles of this dictionary by Lilia Rashidovna Duskayeva. The definition of the term provocativeness is given in the work. We examine this issue in detail in the section devoted to the opposition of polemic publicistic discourse. And this also is in the dictionary. As I said, the term of provocativeness is tackled, and I hope that this is all the questions that. Thank you very much, Anna Nikolaevna. Now we have a floor discussion, but that are not by those who are not part of the dissertation committee. Are there any takers? Lilia Rashidovna, please. Dear colleagues, this is a very special event. Together we see defense by our graduate student. It's very important work for media discourse studies. The discussion that we're witnessing reflects the discussion character of the concept of category of authorship. Well, this reflects the weakness of theoretical description of the term. Anna tackled this category based on a very wide empirical material. She demonstrated that both denotation component is modelized in media discourse. This is connected to the creative character of journalism activity, and demonstrates that the existing this is the first thing that is very important in Anna Nikolaevna's work. Another thing as far as the mass media discourse, the category that exists, categories of grammar, should be translated into media interpretation, because they shouldn't be looked purely linguistically, looked at purely linguistically, but extra linguistically as well. And therefore, this is the reason why the concept of the category of authorship versus the category of the author. This is the reason of this unclarity. And Anna showed that opinion journalism or political journalism is a special type of creativity. And the dialogic character of the polemic text is very specific, and the demonstration, Anna demonstrated that the subjectivity plays a key role in understanding this category. Thank you very much, Leader Shen, for the valuable comment. Any questions? No questions have been submitted. So the academic advisor is given the floor. Natalia Sergeyevna Tsvetova, please. I will not read my review. I will just say a few important words. The idea of this work emerged a few years ago when she studied at the Faculty of Journalism of St. Petersburg University. Over time, it has become more complex because then Anna joined a master's degree program in Slavic philology, where she studied the Serbian language, and this combination of expertise made it possible for this work to be written. So this work has taken a lot of time to be completed. Yeah, this idea is complex and comprehensive, as Lyra Shandon already mentioned. As a student, Anna showed purposefulness, single-mindedness, and independent ability to do research. And the intermediate results that she achieved through her study were presented in Poland and Belarus and in Russia, and I think that this is of importance if we want to understand the character of the researcher. Well, Anna studied at summer schools of Serbian language and culture in Belgrade, and Anna is a good teacher, and also she is full of creative energy. I think that her involvement in the folklore ensemble of St. Petersburg University, where she sings, and this ensemble takes field trips of anthropological nature, not only tours, and so this enriches her as a researcher. Thank you very much, Natalia Sergeyevna. Since we are conducting our session in an online format as well, do any members of the Dissertation Council or anyone present here or the candidate, any objections or questions, unanswered questions that have to do with the procedure? If there are, please speak up. No questions? No questions. Thank you. Dear colleagues, we have an opportunity before we vote to declare a break and to deliberate our decision. Do we need such a break? No, I don't think really. No need to have such a break. Thank you. Well, then we continue our meeting, and then we proceed to the voting. I put to the vote the resolution to award Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova a candidate of philological sciences degree in the degree field 10.01.10 journalism. And I would like to remind you that the decision on awarding such a degree is positive, was taken if more than half, but not fewer than 3 members of the Dissertation Committee have voted for it. Ilchenko Sergei Nikolaevich, your opinion? I agree that Alla Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova is entitled to the third degree. Thank you, Sergei Nikolaevich. Member of the committee, Zoe Leonidovna Novashonova. I also agree that Anna Nikolaevna deserves the third degree in journalism. Thank you very much, Zoe Leonidovna. I vote for the decision. Thank you. Member of the Dissertation Council, Tatiana Leonidovna Kamenskaya. I think that Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova is entitled to, well, deserves to be awarded the third degree. Thank you very much. Boris Yakovlevich Misalshnikov. She is worthy of this degree. Thank you very much. And I, chairman of the committee, agree to the awarding of this degree to Zhavoronkova Alla Nikolaevna. Thank you. Therefore, dear colleagues and guests, I would like to announce out of 5 members of the Dissertation Council who voted, 5 voted for the resolution, and no one voted against, and no one has abstained. The decision on awarding Anna Nikolaevna Zhavoronkova an academic degree of candidate of philological science in the academics in degree field 100110 journalism has been made. Dear colleagues, because our session involves people who are in an online mode with us, do you have any objections or questions as to the procedure? Sergei Nikolaevich? No objections. No questions. Zoe Leonidovna? Nothing. No questions, no objections. Tatiana Leonidovna? No claims, nothing. Thank you. Boris Yakovlevich? No, nothing. Alla Nikolaevna, your concluding remarks. Thank you very much, dear members of the Dissertation Committee, dear colleagues, dear friends. I'd like to thank you for the support. I would like to thank the Department of Media Linguistics, where I studied in my doctoral studies period, and that my colleagues allowed me to do such a good research, and thank you, my colleagues, for stimulating my research interest, my interest in the area, and because without exchanging ideas with the colleagues, it's impossible to do any research. I would like to wish everyone all the best. Thank you very much. Congratulations. The session is therefore declared closed. The session is therefore declared closed. I would like to thank everyone for participation. Please switch off the broadcast. Thank you. Thank you.